Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Marketing the Invisible. I'm Tom Poland, beaming out to you from the Sunshine Coast in Australia, joined today by James Muir. James, g'day from down under, sir. Very warm welcome. Where are you hanging out?
I am hanging out in the mountains just south and west of Salt Lake City, Utah, in a
South
small town called Harriman.
and west. What's the geography like around there? What are we talking? Desert? We've got mountains, obviously. Is it?
It is technically a desert. In the summer, it gets up to 100 degrees, and in the winter, we get snow and all the stuff that you would expect with a ski state like Utah.
Seriously, four seasons happening there.
We do all four.
Welcome, sir. I'm delighted you're here because you really, your stuff puts the finger on the pointiest end of sales and marketing, which is the close. And for those of you who don't know James, that's kind of his specialty. He's the best-selling author of the #1 book on closing sales called The Perfect Close. And the subject today is how to close more sales with 2 simple questions. I know this is going to be a subject that is near and dear to the hearts, if not the bank balances of so many of you, because a lot of us freeze when it comes to the close. We do all the hard work of generating leads, of qualifying prospects, of meeting with people who are interested. And when it comes to that super simple thing, what could be super simple, James is going to make it super simple for you, of asking for the order, we wimp out, or we get stressed, or we fluff it. So this interview should end all those days. James, our 7 minutes is going to start now. Question number 1, tell us, who is your ideal client?
My ideal clients are B2B organizations that sell into the healthcare space.
Perfect. And what's the problem you solve with them?
Well, most B2B organizations are suffering from large bloated pipelines full of deals that have stalled out. And so I generate increased revenues for them by helping them close those stalled opportunities in their pipeline.
Perfect. So question 3 is the symptoms that someone or an organization might be experiencing, but I guess it's just they've got lots of leads, but they're not closing them at a rate that they believe they should be closing. Anything else
good.
You want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. So the kind of the more granular indicators are bloated pipelines, which just means it's bigger than it should be, long sales cycles. And
Right.
then most salespeople have stages that they sell into. Their clients are at various different sales stages in the process. Any stage that's in a given process for too long is an indicator that they might be suffering from stalled opportunities.
And let me ask you a sub question on this one. Are your clients often dealing with multiple decision makers?
Yes, usually. So when I say B2B sales in healthcare, I really mean complex. So it could be anywhere from 3 to a dozen stakeholders. Could be even more.
Right. Yeah. So that requires that's complex. Can be complex. So we've got this organization is probably who would be the person that would generally you would consider to be your core client? Would it be a sales manager or a chief marketing officer?
That's who usually engages me. It could be a C-level executive, but like a CEO, but it's usually a sales leader.
So they're responsible for getting those sales closed, ultimately for new sales revenue.
That's right.
These are senior individuals who are smart and they are focused on achieving their goals. Their career, probably depends on that. So they're going to be trying stuff, is what I'm saying. And what would you say are some of the common mistakes they make prior to finding your solution?
Well, in terms of handling stalled opportunities, if that's where we're focused, 2 of the biggest traps that they make is they mishandle how they handle business case issues and client indecision. With those 2 organizations, often they conclude incorrectly that business case is the root cause of any stalled deal. They think it's their price. And what they do is they inappropriately drop the price to try to solve that problem when that's not really the problem. And that ends up eroding margins and affecting their finances. On the client indecision side, the mistake they often make is they try to overcome indecision by just selling the benefits of change even harder. And that actually makes the problem worse because the root cause of indecision is associated with the risks of changing. Right. And so it's not the benefits. So selling the benefits harder doesn't remove the risks. So salespeople need to be taught on how to pivot their messaging from why change to you can't fail, basically.
Do me a big favor. Sum up those 2 things again in less than 60 seconds, would you? Because I think you folks, we're listening to the voice of experience here. James is someone who's dissected the issues and studied them. Can you repeat those two in summary form, please, again, James?
Sure. Don't assume that if your deal is stalled, that it's a business case problem. And when your client is suffering from indecision, don't try to solve the problem by selling the benefits of the change. What you need to do is shift to a risk mitigating strategy where you tell them, hey, you can't fail. We've got you covered.
Yeah, so this is gold. This is absolute gold. And folks, if you know, you may not be selling B2B into to healthcare professionals, but if you're selling into any situation, and I'd argue even if you're selling to individuals, that you've got the same two issues. You've got to don't assume that the issue is the business case or price, and don't assume you just have to need to talk about benefit. Look at risk mitigation as well. Very valuable insights. Let's flip it now. We've talked a bit about who you work with, what the symptoms are, and what they're doing wrong. Question 5 is, what's the top tip you can give someone that is not going to solve their whole sales closing problem, but it might just take them a step in the right direction?
Well, in Perfect Close, we do give a couple questions where there's just the 2 questions to give you that one. So we could share that. But
Yeah.
An easy tip, if you'd like, well, let's do that then. So there's 2 questions that what you can use that are non-confrontational and be 95% effective. And the first question is, does it make sense for us to X? Where X is whatever the ideal advance is that you want them to take. And then they're going to say yes or no to that. If they say yes, great, you got it, right? If they say no to that, you're just going to use some variation of the second question, which is, okay, well, what do you think is a good next step?
Yeah, I love that. Oh my
And,
God, I love that.
and believe it or not, Gong.io analyzed over 1 million sales calls trying to figure out the answer to what's the best closing approach that there is. And they determined those 2 questions at the perfect close.
Millions a lot.
It is hands down the best closing approach that there is, bar none.
Yeah, I got to ask you to repeat this again. I'm going to push the pause button. This is too valuable to rush. 2 questions again, please.
Okay. So basically, there's 2 key questions. Before you go to Andy's sale, right, any meeting, the first question you're going to ask somewhere near the end of your meeting, you're going to say, does it make sense for us to X? And X is going to be whatever you want them to do next.
Does it make sense for us to start the trial? Does it make sense for us to go to the scoping step? Does it make sense for us to
bingo
interview your board or whatever the next logical step is to progress the sale?
That's
and
right.
if
That's
they
right.
go, not really,
then you're going to say, and there's other versions that enhance this, but the basic kindergarten version of the second question is, okay, well, what do you think is a good next step? And what I can tell you is that in 90% of cases, they will just suggest a very logical next step for where they're at in their buying process.
God, I love this. Oh my
And you can see how non-confrontational it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is something even a wimp like me could do.
And it applies to every type of sale, not just B2B complex sales.
Right. Yeah. No. This is absolute gold. So true. All right. Thank you, sir. People are going to want more of your stuff. So where can people go to find out more about what you do and maybe download something else for free?
Sure. So if you'd like to learn more about unstalling deals, then you can go to unstickingdeals.com. And there's a whole load of resources there that will help you. They're all free and they'll help you prevent your deals from ever sticking, but also give you some models on how to unstick them.
Okay.
If you want more about those 2 questions that I just gave, you're going to want to go to Muir.com. And there's a whole bunch of resources that will help you teach you all the models. Actually,
yeah, there's a lot of valuable stuff there, folks. This is just not your normal lead magnet. This is stuff you can use and profit from. I've been there. I've checked it out. So there's 2 URLs. We'll publish them under the video, but if you're listening to this on Stitcher or iTunes, www.unstickingdeals.com and Pure Muir, M-U-I-R, James's last name.com. Thank you, sir. Question 7, what's the one question I should have asked you but didn't? And the answer, please.
Man, maybe you should ask me why deals get stuck in the first place, or maybe how you actually unstick them. But deals actually get stuck by only 3 things. You'd be surprised. There's only 3 things that will cause your deal to stall. There are sales issues, client indecision, and business case issues. That's all there is. And we probably don't have time to cover them all, but there's actually only 6 ways you can unstick them. And so unsticking deals is actually a lot easier than people think it is.
Folks, you've got to get yourself to unstickingdeals.com and puremuir.com. James, thanks so much for your insights and the value you've just given everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for checking out our Marketing the Invisible podcast. If you like what we're doing here, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. It's very much appreciated. And if you want to generate 5 fresh leads in just 5 hours, then check out www.5hourchallenge.com.